All right. It is Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. It is 7:02 p.m. We're going to call this Land Use Commission meeting to order. I'm Tony Baldock, Chairman, Planning and Zoning. It's going to give you an update of what we've done. Let's see. Of course, I missed the last meeting for the most part, but I watched the video and you kind of got back on the saddle with this one. So I won't throw Marion under the bus too much, but most of you guys are aware we're working on the POCD. We finished our vision statement for that. We're working, we have an ongoing schedule. We've had a couple of subdivisions come forward. The Papusha property on 199 Stevenstown, they came in preliminarily and they're back to the drawing board. I think a lot of these are actually, or a few of them are in front of wetlands. There's 277 River Road. They came in preliminarily. They're talking with, I believe, open space and wetlands. There's the property on the corner of Kelsey Hill Road and Falls Landing. They're looking to do a subdivision. And again, I think that's already been through wetlands because they had a wetlands walk. I'll let wetlands go over that. The ongoing one that I've done a little bit more work on is 22 Kelsey Hill. I know they're working with the land trust about a piece of property they may donate. And I'm not sure if the land trust is on board with that. If they're not, the town may be interested, but there's still a little more legwork to do. There was a distillery approved on 39 Main Street. They just basically, from my understanding, they just do the putting it together and shipping it out. They don't actually have a distillery on site that we can stop by. That's pretty much what we have. Working on subdivision regulations, getting those up into a Word format instead of just paper copies that we can't change. And that's it. If you guys have any questions or anybody from my commission thinks I missed something, please speak up.
I have a question.
Please,
it's Christine.
Yep.
So the transfer station up in the industrial park, I kind of a little out of the loop on that. Any movement on that, or is it stalled? Like,
so they were denied by planning and zoning.
okay.
So then they tried to appeal that to the zoning board of appeals. And I don't know if they've had their meeting about that yet.
Okay.
Because we haven't had our planning and zoning meeting, but they did try and appeal it, but I don't know what the outcome is.
Okay. I'll look it up on the minute.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Looking for conservation and inland wetlands updates.
Hey, it's John W. How's it going?
Hey, John.
Not too much to report. We had actually that Kelsey Hill, the one next to the school. We had them in last week. I actually wasn't at that meeting, but it's still kind of undetermined so they're not really done yet with us. We have a special meeting next week to kind of discuss some of the potential plans. Tanner did say that, I just heard this today, so I don't know all the details, but they might have actually pulled their application. So we'll see what happens. I don't have all the details. Other than that, not too much. We were working on our fee schedule. That's still kind of a work in progress. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay.
And you guys, did you approve or have you voted on the other Kelsey Hill, at the other end, the Scott property?
Is that the one that the land trust was looking at as well?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a little while ago. We had, to my knowledge, I think that was approved and we're done.
Okay.
Because they were just looking to do like a barn on the property, right? Is that the one?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Just because I'm assuming it's going to be at our next meeting, and I want to make sure you guys were good and done everything. So.
Yep.
Anybody questions for John or? All right. If not, anybody from EDC? All right. John, I'm gonna have to put you back on for the land trust.
Back for the land trust. Yeah, Lori and Tanner couldn't make it. Yeah, land trust, not too much new. I know that one property we had just mentioned up on Kelsey Hill. We had done a site walk for that area, and they had offered to donate a piece of the property. Our main issue was that We didn't think we were going to accept it because of access. It was sort of like landlocked. We did walk along the trolley bed, which the property owner doesn't necessarily own, but we had noticed it could potentially be a scenario where if the town did want to get involved, it does have potential for maybe being a small park, like a picnic area or something like that. And if the powers that be can figure out the trolley bed access, it would provide potential parking overflow for Canefield Woods and just like kind of interconnection between those two pieces. So, everything's kind of up in the air, but that's, there's some cool potential if there is interest in the community.
Yeah, so I walked it myself. I think that's a really cool, like you said, just walking the trolley bed was really neat. But yeah, so John Jaskowski from, our zoning enforcement officer has reached out to them to see if they still have rights over their trolley right away. So that's kind of where that is from what I know.
Yeah, I did a site. I know I couldn't make it to the site because you went with Lori, right? I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make that one, but I was at a prior site walk, and yeah, it's nice. It's cool walking down that trolley bed and the piece of the property up there. It's it's some nice upland areas. There's a lot of mountain laurel and stuff like that. It's kind of a neat little area.
Yeah.
Where is that? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna mess up the
Yeah, I guess so. The trolley bed that we're referring to. Do you know where the Canefield Woods parking area is on Main Street?
Yeah, by Fremont's garage. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's like a gas station across the street there. I think that might be that Fremont. Right adjacent to that. So if your back is to Main Street and you're facing that old gas station, the trolley bed is actually right to the right. It's really easy to miss, but it goes straight back. It skirts between several properties and then ultimately connects with the donation piece of the property. The property itself is accessed through Kelsey Hill Road, and it's next to kind of like the power lines over there.
Wait, so you're talking on the side where the convenience store is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the house, there's an existing house, so they put plans in to put I think like a barn up, and the access for all of that is on Kelsey Hill, not Main Street. But Main Street has access to that trolley bed, which would give us access to that portion of the property they were potentially wanting to donate.
If you're on Main Street, there's kind of a curved piece of pathway with a gate in front of it about across from Fremont's. And that is the trolley bed where it turned onto Main Street. And it curves up behind the old Stallsburg Express property and then up on into the woods and then crosses over Kelsey Hill Road by Whittlesey Brook Road. In fact, there's remainder. There's still the right of way is still visible, and you can see a culvert under the right of way as you approach Whittlesey Brook Road. It's on there you go. That's the piece. That's it right there.
Yeah.
And then it cuts across Kelsey Hill Road and goes up through the woods and comes out in the vicinity of Warsaw Street by 214 to Warsaw. You'll see there's another gated entryway, and from there it runs down into Iverton, comes out by Summit Street.
Oh my God. So is that going to be a whole hiking path?
I think a lot of that is privately owned.
Oh, okay.
Fred, did you ride that when you were little?
Nice try, Mike.
Christine, though, that was sort of like not the whole entire section of it, but at least the section that we're looking at on the map to that property. If the ownership piece of it could be figured out, it could be a pretty neat little trail and just more recreation for townspeople,
That's great.
I may have a map on it. If you give me 1 second.
So Fred, you know the history of that. So that was a trolley originated where? Where did
it started in Iverton? It came up from Iverton by Summit Street In fact, one of my customers is actually their driveway. And then comes up through the woods and crosses Warsaw Street, goes up behind Kelsey Hill Road, crosses over by Whittlesey Brook.
That topography is pretty high, isn't it? I mean,
The trolleys were able to climb some pretty steep grades.
wow.
So
You look behind the old Stallsburg Express and there's quite a grade there.
Can you guys see
Yeah,
the
so-
map that I have on the screen?
Yeah, so Tony, yeah, this is the property is in yellow. And you can kind of see there's a little silver line where it says new in the back over here. That was the portion that they were talked to the land trust about, hey, would this be something that you would be interested in? The land trust, we're looking more for like connectivity between existing preserves and state forests, as well as accessibility. So right now, if we were to have accepted it, there's no access to it. So it doesn't really benefit us or the public in any way in that regard. But we did acknowledge that, hey, it does have potential, and you can kind of see the trolley line, that curved line going over there. That could provide access, and then across the street, obviously, we have Canefield and their parking area as well. So, it's an idea right now, but if people are interested, I know the land trust is willing to facilitate and help, the town and anyone else who might be interested in it.
Bruce Edgerton is very knowledgeable about the trolley right-of-ways.
Okay, Bruce Edgerton.
Yes, he's very knowledgeable about the trolley right-of-ways and has given some talks along with Ted McKenzie on the Shoreline Electric Railway, so they could give you better information on that.
So I'm sorry, who is Bruce Edgerton?
Bruce Edgerton, he used to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission. He's
Okay.
on the Board of Trustees of the Historical Society, and Ted McKenzie also has been on the
EDC.
EDC. He resigned last year.
Okay, great. Okay.
But both of them are very, very knowledgeable on the trolley right-of-ways.
Oh, great. Yeah, we'll have to reach out to them then. Cool, thank you.
Anybody else for land trust? All right, there is nothing. So design advisory, I saw Dan chime in over here or pop in on the Zoom.
Yep, I'm here. Nothing to report this month, but if there's anything that, you have to review, send it our way, please.
Absolutely. So I did want to, when we were talking, I think it was the last POCD meeting, so I am glad you popped on here. We're talking about, Blythe and the way to address that. And I think you had mentioned that empowering design advisory a little more might be an
Sure.
option.
Great.
So, I mean, and you sound like you're open to that, so maybe that's a further discussion. Because I know there's, again, even trying to get, I know Guilford just did, they gave out grant money to update the facades of most of the buildings, and you had to go to their design advisory board, present the plans, and then they would, give you up to, I think it was like $2,000 for facade improvements. So.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I thought that was something fantastic. So anyway,
Hey, Tony,
Tony, if I can interject, because last night's Board of Selectmen's meeting was talking about a lot of the ARPA funds, and some of that involves giving businesses money
Mhm.
for facade improvements and the like. So maybe it's time that we talk to the selectmen about involving the advisory board, the design advisory board, about having some input on that so that the money's spent well.
yeah, absolutely.
Because they've got a substantial amount of money to distribute to various businesses and like for facade improvements.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great.
So maybe we need to get into, because they're going to be having some additional meetings regarding the ARPA funds.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, we may have to attend some additional meetings. I was there last night and those issues were brought up.
Okay. You know me, I love meetings. I live with it. To see how many we can do. Anybody else? For Dan?
Tony, for design advisory,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong. When we spoke to the new owner of the building where the ice cream
Mhm.
shop, he had proposed that, I don't know, and I don't know if it was a requirement for his approval, Didn't he propose he was gonna do something on that left side of the building?
Yeah, he was gonna put a patio in with plantings and something to make it so somebody with like bollards or something, going from memory here, but there was something about, we were worried about people driving up onto their grass there, so maybe something to block that.
Yeah, it was planter beds.
Yeah.
Raised planter beds to kind of separate the road from the area.
So that's a good question. Was that a condition of their approval? And if they don't do it, can you rescind their approval? Is that what you're kind of dancing around, Mike?
Well, I mean, not so much that, but more of the aesthetics of that front corner piece is,
Right.
I think doing what he had discussed certainly would look more appealing as you enter from Route 80, looking straight across, than just a couple picnic tables sitting out there with with nothing else. I mean, it is the entrance to town, and I think this is where Dan, where we have to weigh more heavily on what Dan is doing, because I mean, to have some continuity and have town look aesthetically pleasing, I think is a goal. I think that's part of your vision statement, which I think you guys are doing a great job on that, by the way.
So the owner of that building, during that, I happened to actually be attending that meeting when we were out there that day. And if you recall, Eversource or somebody, the state is doing something there around the lights. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that might be where he's kind of holding off until that happens. I don't know.
You're right. And I just double checked. So it was not a condition of approval. It was just something he was, it was just something he put forward as he was going to do it. Design advisory had weighed in on it. And again, their stuff isn't, it's just advisory. It's not
binding.
Yeah. Couldn't think of the word.
So if there's certain language that we can put in there,
Everybody
just going off of past.
That was weird.
Dan,
Can you hear me?
you cut out for a minute there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm taking my son to soccer practice in Meriden. That's how far we have to go to get to a turf field. Anyway, yeah, if there's any language that is better to introduce into our reports, please let me know to make it more binding.
Absolutely.
I'm just going off of past reports and kind of following suit, but
right.
We should coordinate better if we want to, say it's their suggestion, and upon that, I don't know, just whatever language we can put in there because he was very agreeable to it, and I tried to put it in there that he was agreeable to it. I just don't know how that, it seems like there's a gap between our suggestions and approval. So
yeah. So I mean, I'll go back and look at planning and zoning's actual approval and see what, if that was a condition we made, but I don't remember it being that way. But I'll double check.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the time nor the place, but moving ahead into a new era, I mean, I think we should be a little bit more proactive in the approvals of anything happening along Main Street.
Agreed.
There's some continuity, and we don't look like a hodgepodge of new things without people thinking of the future.
Anybody else for Dan? All right. Old business. Anybody have something they want to bring up that we haven't addressed that we've talked about before, or new business? I'm just going to combine these. Anything that we're not talking about?
I have a question.
Yep.
I have a couple actually, and this is probably for EDC to answer, but does anybody, I heard that Mount St. John's sold, and I'm curious to know if anybody knows what's going on with that.
So my understanding is it's going to continue to be a school, but more for troubled kids, like it was before. It's just not owned by the church anymore. It's owned by, I forget
Do you know who owns it?
the Newport Academy. You'd have to.
Yes.
Yeah, Newport Academy. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then Citizens Bank, did anything happen there? Like you see stars out there, you see lease, like I didn't know if it sold or
Don't know. I haven't heard it.
There's a nice new big driveway sealer sign on the front lawn.
Yep.
right. Saw that. Okay. So we don't know what's going on with that either. And then those properties across from Mike's that are for sale. You guys know, like there's a, what's it called? An aqua, is it an aquifer? An aquifer goes all the way underneath that ground, right?
Yep.
That's why we see water in there.
So, well, I mean, there's not much we can do about it until somebody comes forward with a proposal. I think Mike Danello said he was going to buy the middle one, so they couldn't put it
Oh,
in
that
the
would be-
super Walmart.
I love it.
I'm pretty sure that was on his agenda.
That was
was
supposed to
hoping
be
you
on
were
the
gonna
hush hush, Tony.
Bed and breakfast. That's what I was
Yes.
hoping. I was like, oh, those are perfect bed and breakfast homes, Mike.
See?
Yeah, because my 7 days a week, 15 hours a day
Right.
isn't quite enough
Come
yet,
on.
Kristen.
You got it. You're young.
Right? Oh, goodness. So, yeah.
One new
Yeah.
thing that came up last night is that the Board of Selectmen have agreed to sell the remaining town property in Platwood Park.
Nice.
So as opposed to the incubator concept and all of that. So that's going to be coming up. They have to decide how they're going to sell it, whether it's with a realtor or whether it goes to a public auction. So that's going to be something new happening in there.
What can go in there?
Industrial
Just in-
appropriate businesses according to zoning.
What
So,
prompted that, Fred?
What's that?
What prompted that decision all of a sudden?
Well, there's been interest in the property and, it's like last night I asked the question, how long has this property been off the tax rolls owned by the town doing nothing? There is a principal that is in town that's developed property that's been asking about it for some time, 18 months, I believe, asking about it. And so the other two of the selectmen really went to bat, not for that person particularly, but for the fact that it's been sitting there idle all of these years and not being developed into anything, which does the town no good whatsoever. And should the town be in the real estate business? So subsequently it came to a vote and two of the selectmen voted that we should put it up for sale.
interesting.
So that'll be a piece of property that we'll probably be asked to talk about.
I know that gentleman, he's been at numerous meetings inquiring about that.
Yeah, well, whether he gets it or not is, a moot point. It's if he gets it, he's a town person and been developing property in the town, but obviously can't express an opinion on who should have it.
Right.
Right.
Is it another business that's interested in it, or is this just an?
It's a person that's developed other business properties. Yeah. I mean, the person that's been primarily interested is Nick Olson, but there's been different controversies or different ideas of what originally the property was bought for incubator space. But it's been there so long and not been developed as incubator space that nobody remembers how long we've had it.
Hey, Tony, this isn't relevant. Just, do you know offhand, does the town of Deep River have a maximum height restriction for building?
They do. Each zone is slightly different.
Okay, that's all. I'm just curious. And what's happening with Winchester? Anything with EDC moving on, promoting anything to happen in there once they move out?
Oh, you mean Smith and Wesson?
Smith and Wesson.
From EDC, I have heard nothing. I mean,
Tony, on that note, I
Yeah.
looked on the town website and I couldn't find any meeting minutes from EDC since last January.
No, and their website's outdated since I left the EDC.
Yep.
So I
So
don't.
maybe it's time we look to professional management of that function in the town. I mean, I brought it up last night at the selectmen's meeting. It's down on Westbrook Road in Essex. There's a 20,000 square foot building being erected for new industrial property. Where's our 20,000 square foot building being erected to add to the town's tax rolls? You know, we just added 2 points to the to a non-recurring fund in town, and I brought that up last night, and they said, well, that's not a tax increase. Yes, but it's still tax money. And why aren't we looking for more sources of tax revenue, which is one thing that we've been talking about a lot on the POCD committee. And we're at a situation now where here other towns are leaving us in the dust, and we have a non-functional EDC. I've been a member of this group now for quite some time and attended many joint meetings and not seen anyone from EDC attend. This is ridiculous.
Well, I was gonna write a letter and just ask, you know, about it. You know, I mean, we don't know the results of a survey that was, you know, conducted. And so I think there's a lot of questions that can be asked. But when you asked about this at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, Fred?
And asked about which?
About EDC and where they are?
Yes.
And
Yeah, so it was recommended to me to join the EDC.
See, more meetings.
I'm on the POCD committee and planning and zoning. What more you want?
You see, you got to have more meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, goodness.
That was the response I got from the first selectman.
All right. Well, I mean, we're not going to solve this problem right now. But I mean, it's clearly, you know, we've discussed this. The town clearly needs an economic development commission.
So I have another question. So in regards to taxes, if your property is, let's say, zoned as farming property,
Mhm.
and it's not actively being used as farming property, is there like a timeline before that shifts in terms of tax bracket?
I think it's more the assessor.
Is that an assessor question?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know how that worked. Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else to add? If not, I'm gonna adjourn. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out, listening to me ramble, and everybody answering questions. Thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you,
thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
See ya.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye.
Bye.